You know what kills me about addiction? It's not the first loss. It's not even the 10th. It's that moment when you've lost everything, and you still believe the next hand will save you. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm about to tell you about the night I became the worst husband in America. Let me take you back 6 months. Picture this, a small apartment in Midtown Detroit, second-hand furniture, but it's ours. My wife Sarah and I had been married for exactly 1 year. One beautiful, perfect year. God, where do I even start? Sarah's got these warm brown eyes that light up when she laughs, dark hair that falls just past her shoulders, and this smile that made me believe I could be better than I was. She worked as a nurse at Henry Ford Hospital, pulling double shifts sometimes, coming home exhausted but always finding the energy to ask about my day. Me? I was a mechanic at a shop on Woodward Avenue. Decent money. Honest work. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Or at least, she was happy. I was drowning. See, I'd been gambling since I was 19. Started small, $20 on a football game here, 50 on poker there. But it's like a whisper that gets louder and louder until it's screaming in your head. One more game. One more hand. This time you'll win it all back. By the time Sarah and I got married, I was in deep. Not just money deep, soul deep. I'd pawned my father's watch. Borrowed from friends I'd never pay back. Maxed out credit cards Sarah didn't even know existed. And still, I couldn't stop. It was a Friday night in September when everything fell apart. Sarah was working a night shift, wouldn't be home until 7 a.m. I told myself I'd just go to Rico's, this underground poker room in a warehouse off Grayshot Avenue, for an hour. Maybe 2. Just to win back some of what I'd lost the week before. The room was thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. 6 guys around a green felt table, all of us pretending we were there for fun. Rico Martinez ran the game. 40-something, slicked back hair, gold chain visible under his collar. He wasn't a criminal exactly, but he knew people. The kind of people you don't want to owe money to. Marcus, my man. Rico grinned as I walked in. You got that $3,000 you owe me from last week? My stomach twisted. I'm gonna win it back tonight, Rico. I can feel it. He laughed, not a mean laugh, but not kind either. That's what you said last week, brother. And the week before that. I sat down anyway. Bought in with the last $500 in our checking account. Sarah's checking account, really? She didn't know I had access to it. For the first hour, I was up. Way up. $1,200. I was riding high, feeling that electric rush that makes you forget about rent, about bills, about the woman who loves you working herself to exhaustion while you throw away her paycheck. Then the cards turned cold. By midnight, I'd lost it all. The $500. The $1,200 I'd won. Another $800 I borrowed from a guy named Tommy who charged 20% interest per week. I should have left. Any sane person would have left. But addiction isn't sane. Rico, I heard myself say, my voice sounding like it was coming from somewhere else. One more hand. Just one. He raised an eyebrow. With what money, Marcus? You're tapped out. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. And then the words came out, words I'll regret until the day I die. My wife. The whole table went silent. Even the guy shuffling cards stopped. Excuse me. Rico leaned forward. One night, I said, the words tumbling out like I was watching myself from above, unable to stop. If I lose this hand, Sarah spends one night with you guys. You let her go in the morning, no harm done. But if I win, you erase everything I owe you. Clean slate. I expected them to jump at it. I expected Rico to grin and deal the cards. Instead, he stared at me like I'd just grown a second head. "You're betting your wife," Tommy said slowly. "Man, are you out of your mind?" She's beautiful," I stammered, trying to sell it, hating myself with every word. "You guys would." "Would what, Marcus?" Rico cut me off. His voice was cold now. "You think we're animals? You think we'd actually—" He stopped, shook his head. "You know what? Fine. Deal the cards." My hands were trembling as I picked up my cards. King-Queen suited. Not bad. The flop came down, King 9-4. I had top pair. I was going to win. I could feel it. This was it, my redemption hand. The turn, a 7. Nothing. I was still good. Rico raised. I called with everything I had left, which was nothing, because I was betting my wife. The river, an ace. Rico flipped over his cards with no expression. Ace-king. 2 pair. He beat me. The room spun. My chest felt like it was caving in. "Congratulations, Marcus," Rico said quietly. "You just bet your wife in a poker game and lost. Bring her to the warehouse on Grand Boulevard tomorrow night. 8 p.m. We'll have her back to you Sunday morning." I stumbled out into the cold Detroit night, throwing up in an alley behind the building. What had I done? What had I done? I went home, crawled into bed, and waited for Sarah to come home from her shift. When she walked through the door at 7:15 a.m., tired but smiling, asking if I wanted coffee, I almost told her everything. Almost. Instead, I said, "Hey, baby. Some guys from work want to take me camping this weekend. Up north. Would you mind if I went?" She kissed my forehead. "Of course not. You work so hard. You deserve a break." The guilt was crushing me. But I didn't tell her the truth. Instead, the next night at 7:45 p.m., I told Sarah that the guys had changed plans. They wanted to meet some friends in Grand Boulevard first. "Want to come say hi?" I asked, my voice hollow. She smiled, confused but trusting. "Sure." And that's how I led my wife, the woman I promised to love and protect, straight into the warehouse where I'd gambled her away like she was a piece of property. The devil doesn't show up in a red cape. Sometimes he shows up looking exactly like you, staring back from the mirror. The warehouse on Grand Boulevard looked abandoned from the outside. Broken windows on the 3rd floor, graffiti-tagged walls, the kind of place you drive past without a second glance. But inside, Rico had set up a decent space, clean floors, some furniture, even a kitchen area in the back. Sarah's hand was in mine as we walked through the metal door. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She had no idea why we were really here. "Marcus, what is this place?" she asked, looking around nervously. Before I could answer, Rico stepped out from the back room. Tommy was with him. So were 3 other guys from the poker game, Louis, Deshaun, and an older man everyone called Pops. 5 men total. 5 men I'd handed my wife over to. "Sarah," Rico said gently, his voice nothing like the poker table bravado. "My name is Rico Martinez. Your husband has something he needs to tell you, but I don't think he's gonna do it. So we're gonna tell you instead." Sarah's grip on my hand tightened. "Marcus? What's going on?" I couldn't look at her. I stared at the concrete floor, my throat closing up. "Your husband," Rico continued, pulling out a chair and gesturing for Sarah to sit, "has a gambling problem. A serious one. He owes money all over this city. And last night..." He paused, his jaw tight. "Last night he bet you in a poker game." The silence that followed felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. What?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "He lost a hand," Tommy added, stepping forward. "And he told us that if he lost, you'd spend the night here with us. He gambled you away like you were a car title or a watch. I finally looked up. Sarah's face had gone pale. Her eyes were wide, searching mine for some sign that this was a sick joke. Marcus. Her voice cracked. Tell me they're lying. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. The shame was suffocating. Oh my God, she whispered, pulling her hand away from mine. Oh my God, you actually, she stood up suddenly, stumbling backward. You bet me? Like I'm some kind of object. Tears were streaming down her face now. Not angry tears, broken tears. The kind that come from somewhere deep in your soul when the person you trusted most in the world betrays you. Sarah, I started, but Deshaun cut me off. Don't, he said firmly. Man, you don't get to talk right now. You've said enough. Deshaun was built like a linebacker, arms covered in tattoos, but his voice was surprisingly soft. He turned to Sarah. I want you to know something. We're not gonna touch you. Not tonight, not ever. When Rico told us what this fool did, we were disgusted. Lewis, a younger guy with kind eyes, nodded. We got sisters. Mothers. My wife just had a baby. What kind of men do you think we are? Pops, the oldest of the group, maybe 60, grey beard, worn leather jacket, stepped forward. Sarah, is it? She nodded numbly. I've known addicts my whole life. Hell, I was one. 20 years sober now. And I can tell you something about your husband here, he's sick. Real sick. This disease has got him by the throat. That doesn't excuse, Sarah started, her voice shaking with rage. No, it doesn't, Pops interrupted gently. It doesn't excuse a damn thing. What he did is unforgivable. But here's what we're gonna do. We made a deal with Marcus. He said you'd stay here tonight, and technically, you are gonna stay here. But not for what he thought. Rico walked over to a corner of the warehouse and pulled back a curtain. Behind it was a small but clean bedroom setup, a real bed with fresh sheets, a lamp, even some books on a nightstand. That's your room for tonight, Rico said. Door locks from the inside. There's a bathroom attached. We're gonna be out here in the main space. And we're gonna talk to your husband. Really talk to him. Sarah looked between all of them, confusion and pain written across her face. I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Tommy ran a hand over his face. Because when Rico told us what went down, we realized something. We enable this. Every time we let Marcus sit down at that table knowing he's already in the hole, knowing he's got a problem, we're part of the disease. And last night? Last night he crossed a line that made us all take a hard look at ourselves. We could have called the cops on him, Lewis added. What he did, trying to traffic his own wife, that's a crime. A serious one. But we figured, maybe there's another way. Maybe we can actually help both of you. Deshaun pulled out a chair, turned it backward, and sat down facing me. Marcus, sit down. Saturday. You're gonna spend tonight listening, he said. Really listening. And Sarah, you don't have to stay. You can walk out that door right now, and I'll drive you wherever you want to go. Home, a friend's house, a hotel, anywhere. We'll even help you pack up and leave this piece of trash if that's what you want. Sarah was crying harder now, her whole body shaking. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something die in her eyes. The trust. The love. Maybe not all of it, but enough that I knew nothing would ever be the same. I need. She started, wiping her face. I need to think. I need to be alone. Take all the time you need, Pop said, gesturing to the bedroom. We got food, water, whatever you need. And Sarah. She turned to look at him. We're gonna try to get through to him tonight. But you need to know, addiction like this, it doesn't get fixed in one night. He needs real help. Professional help. And even then, there's no guarantee. Sarah nodded slowly, then walked toward the bedroom without looking at me. The sound of the door closing and the lock clicking into place was the loneliest sound I'd ever heard. Rico turned to me, arms crossed. Now, Marcus. Let's talk about what kind of man bets his wife in a card game. Tommy pulled up a chair. Lewis grabbed a coffee pot from the kitchen. Dishon cracked his knuckles. Pops just stared at me with eyes that had seen too much and forgiven too little. It was going to be a long night. But for the first time in years, I wasn't running from the truth. I was sitting in it, drowning in it, with 5 men who had every right to hate me but instead chose something harder. They chose to care. The intervention had begun. And in that locked bedroom, my wife Sarah cried herself into exhausted silence, wondering if the man she married ever really existed at all. They didn't yell at me. That's what made it worse. If they'd screamed, if they'd hit me, maybe I could have stayed numb. But they just talked. And every word was a knife. Rico started. He poured himself a cup of coffee, offered me one. I shook my head. My stomach was in knots. I've been running poker games for 12 years, Rico said, sitting across from me. I've seen guys lose houses, cars, their kids' college funds. But you? You're the first person who ever tried to bet a human being. He leaned forward. Do you understand what you did, Marcus? Like, really understand? I wasn't thinking, I started. That's the problem, Tommy cut me off. You weren't thinking of her as a person. In that moment, Sarah wasn't your wife. She was just another chip you could throw on the table. Lewis stood up, pacing. My wife's name is Maria. We've been together 6 years. She's the mother of my daughter. And I'm sitting here trying to imagine what would have to break inside me to do what you did. He stopped, looked at me. I can't imagine it, man. I literally can't. Dishon pulled out his phone, showed me a picture. A woman with a bright smile holding a little girl. That's my sister Kisha and my niece. Kisha's husband walked out on them last year. You know why? Gambling. He emptied their bank account, stole her jewelry to pawn, and disappeared. Now she's working 2 jobs trying to keep the lights on. He put the phone away. Your wife Sarah works double shifts at a hospital. She's out there saving lives while you're in here destroying hers. Each word hit like a hammer. Pops had been quiet, just watching me. Finally, he spoke. Marcus, how old are you? 32. I started gambling when I was 17, Pops said. By the time I was your age, I'd lost 2 jobs, a marriage, and my relationship with my kids. I was living in my car, stealing to feed the addiction. You know what finally stopped me? I shook my head. I tried to kill myself. The room went silent. Pills. Whole bottle. My ex-wife found me, called 911. When I woke up in the hospital, my daughter, she was 9 years old, she looked at me and asked, Daddy, why don't you love us more than the cards? His voice cracked on that last word. That's when I knew. The gambling wasn't just hurting me. It was killing everyone who loved me. So I got help. Real help. Gamblers Anonymous. Therapy. It took years, Marcus. Years. And you know what? I still think about it. Every single day. The urge never completely goes away. You just learn to live with it. Tommy nodded. My uncle was a gambler. Died when I was 16. Heart attack at a casino in Vegas. Know what they found in his wallet? A photo of his kids and a pawn ticket for his wedding ring. He chose the tables over everything. And it killed him. Rico set down his coffee cup. Here's what's gonna happen, Marcus. Tomorrow morning, Sarah walks out of here. What she does after that, whether she stays with you, leaves you, forgives you, hates you forever, that's her choice. Not yours. You gave up the right to make choices for her when you put her on that poker table. But tonight, Dishon added, you're gonna sit here and think about every lie you've told her. Every dollar you've stolen. Every promise you've broken. Because that woman in there. He pointed to the locked bedroom door. She deserves better than you. And unless you get serious help, you're never gonna be what she deserves. Lewis grabbed a notebook and pen from a shelf, tossed them to me. Write it down. Every bet you've made in the last year. Every debt. Every lie. All of it. We're gonna sit here all night, and you're gonna face exactly what you've done. So I wrote. The $500 I took from our checking account. The $1,200 I borrowed from my brother and never paid back. The credit card I opened in both our names without telling Sarah, $8000 in debt. My father's watch that he gave me before he died, pawned for $300, lost in a game 2 hours later. The wedding ring fund Sarah had been saving, $2 for $100 that disappeared one weekend when she was visiting her mom. By 2 a.m., I'd filled 12 pages. Read it out loud, Pop said quietly. So I did. Every theft. Every betrayal. Every moment I chose the rush of gambling over the woman who loved me. My voice broke multiple times. By the end, I was sobbing. How much total? Rico asked. I added it up. $37,000. Plus interest on loans, probably closer to $45,000. Tommy whistled low. And she has no idea. She knows we're tight on money, I admitted. She thinks it's just because I don't make enough. She works extra shifts to cover what I'm secretly stealing. That's evil, man, Lewis said bluntly. I'm sorry, but that's evil. She's killing herself to cover for your addiction and she doesn't even know it. Dishon stood up, walked to the bedroom door, knocked gently. Sarah? You awake? We heard movement. The lock clicked. The door opened slightly. Sarah's eyes were red and swollen. She'd been crying for hours. We think you should hear this, Dishon said gently. She came out slowly, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold herself together. She wouldn't look at me. Read her the list, Rico said to me. So I did. Every single thing. Every lie. Every stolen dollar. Every broken promise. By the time I finished, Sarah was sitting on the floor, her back against the wall, tears streaming silently down her face. $45,000, she whispered. Marcus, I've been eating ramen for dinner so we could save money. I wore the same winter coat for 4 years. I skipped my cousin's wedding because we couldn't afford the flight. And you stole $45,000 from us. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Don't. Her voice was steel. Don't you dare say you're sorry. You're not sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. She stood up, looked at Rico and the others. Thank you. For being decent men. For calling him out. But I can't stay here anymore. I'll drive you, Dishon offered immediately. Sarah nodded, then finally looked at me. Really looked at me. I'm going to my sister's house. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't show up. When I'm ready to talk, if I'm ever ready, I'll reach out. But Marcus? Her voice broke. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this. You didn't just gamble away money. You gambled away me. Like I was nothing. She walked toward the door with Dishon. Sarah, please, I started to follow. Tommy grabbed my arm, held me back. Let her go, man. You've taken enough from her. I watched her leave. The love of my life. Walking away because I destroyed everything we'd built. When the door closed, I collapsed. Just fell to my knees and broke completely. Pops knelt beside me, put a hand on my shoulder. This is rock bottom, Marcus. This is where you either die or you change. What's it gonna be? Through my tears, I managed to say, I need help. I can't do this anymore. I need help. Rico pulled out his phone, started making calls. I know a guy who runs a treatment center. Gamblers Anonymous meets there every day. I'm calling him now. Lewis grabbed the notebook with my list. We're keeping this. You're gonna need it for your meetings. Every addict needs to face what they've done. The sun was coming up when Rico finally got me into his car. He drove me straight to Sacred Heart Recovery Center on the east side. Father Michael, the director, met us at the door. Son, he said, looking at my destroyed face, you ready to do the work? I nodded. It's been 4 months since that night. I've been to 90 meetings in 90 days. I got a sponsor, Pops, actually. He meets me for coffee twice a week. I'm working full-time at the shop again, every penny going to pay back my debts. I moved into a studio apartment alone. Sarah's still at her sister's. She texted me once, 2 weeks ago, I saw you're going to meetings. Keep going. Maybe someday we can talk. Maybe. I don't know if she'll ever forgive me. I don't know if I deserve forgiveness. What I do know is this, I'm 32 years old, my name is Marcus Webb, and I'm a gambling addict. I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. But I'm fighting to become the man Sarah thought she married. Even if she never comes back. Even if I spend the rest of my life alone. Because she deserves that. She deserves to know that her pain meant something. That it changed me. 5 men in a warehouse showed me more mercy than I deserved. They could have taken advantage. They could have called the cops. They could have beaten me half to death, and no one would have blamed them. Instead, they held up a mirror and made me look at the monster I'd become. Recovery isn't a straight line. Some days I walk past a gas station and my hands start shaking, wanting to buy a scratch-off ticket. Some nights I dream about cards and wake up in a cold sweat. But every morning, I wake up and choose to be better than I was yesterday. And every night, I pray that someday, Sarah might give me one more chance to prove that the man she loved is still in here somewhere. Even if that day never comes, I owe it to her, and to myself, to keep trying. That's my story. That's my shame. That's my hope. And if you're reading this and you see yourself in me, get help. Today. Right now. Before you lose something you can never get back. Because rock bottom isn't when you lose everything. Rock bottom is when you lose everyone who ever loved you. And trust me, that's a gamble you'll never win.